1, 2, 3, 2. Welcome to an otherwise quiet room. I'm Mandy Connell, and we're a web series featuring singer-songwriters swapping songs and stories in social spaces. In the Moreland sessions, we feature businesses and small social spaces and different singer-songwriters for 11 episodes. In every episode, I learn one of their songs, they learn one of mine, and we cover another independent songwriter. Hannah Asafiri invited the Moreland Sessions and Monica Weightman to film an episode at the Moroccan DeliCacy on Lygon Street in Brunswick East. Monica's guitar made my song Airport Traffic sound amazing. She taught me one of hers and one by celebrated Indigenous artist Robert Champion.
From the bustle of the airport traffic, I can read it in the paper now. They've taken all our half-caste children from the towns where they're not allowed. Like the writing on an adult movie, nobody's allowed to walk at night. There's fighting in the streets, the towns, the byways, the night sounds they wouldn't be right. Occupation has its own language, replacing all the words we know. Some of these kids still don't speak English. The government says it's a symptom. So, intervention, good intention. No matter which words we choose, how much of the spirit gets lost in action, rolling out tanks in the dream time home. Traffic, I can read it in the paper now. They've taken all our half-caste children from the towns where they're not allowed. Like they're writing on an adult movie, nobody's allowed to walk at night. There's fighting in the streets, the byways, the night sounds they wouldn't be. There's fighting in the streets, towns, the byways, the night sounds safe. Whoa, fighting in the streets, towns, the byways, the night sounds safe.
Monica Weightman, thanks for joining us.
Most welcome. Thank you, Mandy, for having me here today.
It's
Awesome.
kind of special. It feels like we're at the Moroccan DeliCacy and there's nobody else here except for two very quiet and wonderful staff members.
Yes, yeah.
So it feels it's a real privilege to be here.
It is. Prior, we had a few trams and trucks, and even a fire engine went down.
Yes, absolutely.
That's Brunswick for you, isn't
But
it?
I've been having the best time this afternoon playing songs with you and talking to Hannah Asafiri, who is obviously a big fan of yours.
Yeah, which is great. I'm a big fan of hers too. We go back a fair way. Actually.
How long?
I think I was in my late 20s. I'm giving it away now. So we're going back over 20 years.
She has a lot in common with you, I think, with that ownership of very strong feminine power and just confidence of action, I guess.
Yes.
Which is inspiring.
Absolutely. She's a doer, isn't she? She's a mover and shaker.
But so are you. I mean, you run lots. I mean, you're a teacher and you take part in lots of different projects.
Yeah, definitely. For me, being an Aboriginal woman, a Murray woman from Queensland, it's really important for me to be visible, particularly for our young ones coming up. And we need more women out there as musicians, for me as a musician, because it's very easy for young women to get caught up in that shame job. Oh, shame job, mate, you know.
Yeah.
And so we especially need to be visible for those young creative people coming through. Yes, there's a lot of men out there, Aboriginal men out there doing this sort of thing, and there's more and more females coming through. What I find is that it's essential that us older ones are visible and we're there and they know, oh, I can do this.
Yeah, I was saying to Hannah earlier, you can't be what you can't see.
That's it.
Which is not strictly speaking true, but it's certainly good to have that example. And I know that for me, even you know, as a very white, fairly middle class person, for me having your example, playing shredding guitar and really confident with your gear and your instrumentation on stage, and then just being comfortable speaking your politics and speaking your life from the stage has just been phenomenal. I wonder how loud that is in the microphone.
There we go. There's Brunswick. See, it's always happening down here, which is wonderful. It's a melting pot of many cultures in Moreland.
Well, I imagine something is really melting now with the fire engine going past.
And we do like to call it the Republic of Brunswick, actually.
Do we?
Yes, we do. All those agitators and stirrers that live here.
I used to have a Republic of Woodford t-shirt.
Oh, did you? Hey.
Yeah.
That's a very strong place too. Big women's business up there.
Yeah. Do you think that there's a lot going on? I mean, I know that you're part of a lot of educational programs for Indigenous culture.
Yeah.
But do you think there's a lot going on in terms of strengthening women's place in the industry?
That's always going to be a challenge because it's a male-dominated industry. So that will always be a challenge. There are those that do get through and we applaud them and we help them all the way. You know.
Yeah. You got to back them.
So there are those few that do get through. Never alone in marginalised society, in mainstream, you're going to have that. More men are going to get through than women.
Yep.
As we know, you know, look at the current, what's happening now, all of those privileged walls are coming down of sexual assault and all this sort of stuff and what it means to actually, what a woman has to do, a woman has to do to actually move forward, you know, in the business and be seen and be vocal. And often it's men who are in these positions of power who will decide who gets seen and who doesn't.
Just because they're already there. They're already in those positions.
They're already in those positions.
It's a funny thing because I'm in Wurundjeri country, and for me this is very, I live in this bubble of men who love strong women. I mean the tech team today are two men who work with incredibly strong women and are wonderful to work with and incredibly, I mean they teach, they reach out a helping hand, they do favours and they're just constantly there to remind. But then I leave Wurundjeri, I leave East Brunswick even, this tiny bubble of support, and I realise that it's not a myth. It's really true. I mean,
it is really true.
The big festivals have more men on their programs than women.
And even in positions of power in the music industry, you know, they decide who gets to be heard and who doesn't. And yet, on grassroots level, those of us who have our ears open, you know, we're plugged into many different artists. To name a few, they're sort of out-of-towners, actually. Shelley Morris is one that comes to mind. I should have thought about this earlier, actually. Some of the people. Lou Bennett is another one that's a national treasure. She's got a PhD in linguistics now, and she's really bringing back the Order language, which is quite possibly been strong anyway because they've managed to retain some of that language. However, she's now gone in and really studied it and writing songs, and it's really exciting actually. I was just in Perth and I heard a woman there. She's a Noongar woman from WA. And
Gina.
Oh my God.
Come on, Connell. Remember, Gina Davies?
Yes.
Fantastic.
Wow, and it's all in language.
And when I saw her, she was teaching whole festival audiences the choruses in Noongar language.
Wonderful.
So impressive. And it was like a chance for me to, make a fool out of myself and just have a go and not worry too much because everyone's doing it. So
that's right.
if you get it wrong, it's not so embarrassing.
That's right. And it's really interesting when you listen to language and how it connects with the land, the geographics of the land, the layout of the land. You notice a lot of our words are, it's very nasally, and that cuts through and it carries.
Yeah.
It carries through our countryside. I mean, if we were in Switzerland, we'd probably be yodeling or something like that off the mountains.
I think you bring a lot of that to your playing, like choosing different sounds. Like today you're playing acoustic guitar, but you bring out a whole lot of different sounds on both acoustic and electric in your sets, depending on who you're playing with and what room you're in. And
yeah, right.
I think
yet there's that one consistency that within all of that, and that's me.
Yeah.
And it's really important for me to be true to me and to my ancestors.
Yeah.
Now, having come from stolen generation, a lot of it is intuitive. And it's easy to feel less connected once you've lost name of country.
Yeah.
So, but I once asked our auntie about it, and she said to me, my girl, you carry country with you wherever you go. It's in your DNA. And so I believe that you are born of this land. You're in this land. You're born of this land. And then you too have a right or an opportunity to learn the ways of the land, including our local language.
I think that's definitely true. I also heard Deborah Cheatham talk about that same
thing.
Yeah, it doesn't. What she said is, if you're born here, you're born here. And she said, whether you're Indigenous or First Nations or not, you need that connection to country. And if you don't have your connection to country, and if you're not listening to the song, you have to listen to the song. And I remember going away from that it was at the Footscray Arts Centre. I went to the Arts Learning conference last year in 2015.
Wow.
And it was phenomenal. And I just came away going, that's what it is. It's talking about listening to country.
Yes.
And that, for me, it's very much what I feel like you and Hannah, who runs this place, have that in common. You not only talking to people, but you're bringing them in. So you're inviting people into space. And I mean, for you travel a lot, but when we play music, we just create a moment of focus, I think, and a moment of connection.
Definitely.
And we invite people to take that time to have that moment.
Yeah.
Like this connection on the phone now.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I guess we should wrap it up, especially
and
with this going
I think
on.
we're giving people permission too to be exactly that.
Yeah.
To have that strength to know that their voice is important. It's just as important as anybody else's who they deem to think that their voice is important. It's like, well, hang on. And this is what living up is about.
Yeah.
It's like being in the moment, regardless of what's going on. You need to be yourself, be in the moment.
And have a little joy.
And have a little joy. Taking the time for catching the laughter, sailing the breeze on a cloudy day, watching the grass grow, seeing the mud sun. We're gonna sit right here and watch the day pass away. Oh yeah. Oh. wishes and showers, all in a robbery for who knows where. Hustle and bustle, cold city shoulders. Well, it takes my foolish breath away. Now we're sitting undercover, taking shots of right around West Station. Then from the rain, I'm marveling at the rain. I've got time for contemplating now. Living it up, it's just a way of life. Living it up, girl, it's a choice we make. Say goodbye, say goodbye to all those self-city blues. Living it up now, well, we just can't lose. Oh, no, we just can't lose. Well, we're all up in arms now, pressures we're under, just living in another day. So we'll jump in my car then, we'll head for the mountains, telling young friends along the way. Sometimes I just drive all day, scores I'd really like to feel the weight of lifting from your shoulders. Riding this time machine, we've got time for contemplating. Living it up, it's just a way of life. Living it up, girl, it's a choice we make. Say goodbye to all those South City blues. Living it up now, well, we just can't lose. Oh, no, we just can't lose. Oh, yeah. Living it up, yeah. Living it up, yeah. Living it up, yeah.
Living it up, living it up.
Living it up, yeah. Living it up, yeah. Living it up, living it up. 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 Do 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 do.
Living it up, living it up. Living it up, living it up. Living it up, living it up.
Yeah, baby. I like it.
All right.
Hey.
Hello.
Hello. Welcome.
Thank you. It's really nice to be able to bring an otherwise quiet room to the Moroccan DeliCacy. I'm so happy to be here.
Oh, I'm really happy to have you, and I tried as much as is humanly possible to make it otherwise quiet.
Well, it's still a social space and a
Yes.
business, which is the point.
Yes.
And that's definitely what we're doing, showcasing small businesses and social spaces in the city of Moreland for
Yes.
this series. And it's nice to bring music here. I know that you've had some musical kind of magical synchronicity kind of events here with singers coming in before. Does it happen a lot?
Look, I guess I mean, for me, it's about understanding the values and the principles that the Moroccan super and the Moroccan DeliCacy are founded on.
Yep.
We are founded on a mindfulness of how we tread, both in terms of the environment and certainly the society. Onto which we find ourselves more and more living during times where people and communities are unsettled, society's fractured. So we have decided not only to make our implicit principles explicit, all the way from the people we employ, the women we employ, through to how we sit people alongside one another, we eat communally, and we afford dignity and respect to every citizen that walks through our doors. And I guess in a climate of such divisiveness and hostility, certainly historically and to date, you find the arts play an extraordinary role. And the arts will push at conventions and our ability to understand where it is and make sense of the world that we want to see ourselves in. So, consequently, of course, I often find myself tripping over or artists tripping over me, for lack of a better word.
Definitely. I mean, I heard you first on Triple R. I think you were being interviewed, and I heard almost a week of interviews. Every time I turned on the radio, it was serendipity. Your voice was there, and I heard you. And I've just moved to Wangaratta, which it has a cultural centre. It has some great stuff happening, but it's not like Brunswick. And I was driving through listening to Triple R, and I heard your voice, and I went, culture, activism, social space, sharing, and you were such a great speaker, and I really had to come in and check it out. So
look, I guess for me, everything we do is thankfully and humbly supported by a community. Otherwise, I'd be a crazy person in the middle of the street talking about social justice. The community has an appetite for the betterment of humanity. And we're simply offering up the most unconventional of ways where we bring people together, where
like
people congregate.
Speed Data Muslim, for
like
instance.
Speed Data Muslim, like the conversation salons upstairs. We even had downstairs Angela Davis. We hosted her one evening. And look, I just think, certainly at the moment, and I don't know when this is going to go to air, but regardless, we are living during a time where our governance is so far removed from the sentiment of community and from what keeps communities sustainable and strong, that I have taken a stand against some of those sentiments by every day making an announcement. And this is so not the done thing. People come for lunch or dinner and you start talking about divisive societies, and then I say to people, would you like some bread with that? Or ultimately, the food is for free. You pay for the conversation. Because when the world and the environment we find ourselves in is so unsettled, it is on us to, in a very unconventional way, try and reapply our principles.
I love that you live your politics.
You have to.
You do.
You have to. Absolutely.
I feel like you invite other people to feel included and current. Like that feeling of being alive, being present. You're living your reality instead of thinking of, you make politics real with bread and Turkish delight and tea.
Well, to me, social justice is a perspective. It's not something you simply learn or apply 9 to 5 in your job or in your boardrooms or in your academic settings. That, to me, those concepts and visions have to be practically applied. And if they're not worth their salt.
Well, I really enjoy what you do.
Thank you.
Personally, as a woman, I kind of really appreciate, that saying, you can't be what you can't see? I feel like you and all of the women working here and all the people involved really create a great example. And I want to say thanks again for having us to sing in your space. And I hope we add something to it. So.
Look, absolutely. And just a brief mention, as is always necessary, I just think a society, and many visionaries across time have said this in different ways, and I hope I can, at the very least, capture the sentiment that any society's decency has to be measured by its treatment of its vulnerable groups.
Yeah.
And that is our legacy, and that is the measure against which we'll be tested. And I, for one, am somebody who advocates that Indigenous issues are not to be ignored any longer. We can do better, we must do better. And it's not that I'm advocating that they need me to defend their rights. What is required is that no matter how marginalised we are, we take responsibility for the privileges that are afforded as a consequence of the continued process of dispossession of these people. And that is a responsibility that comes with everybody. We are benefactors of, the continued hostility and the tussle that's going on in the background between the Indigenous community and the government. It's on us. We can do better. We can go to the moon. We can certainly support a treaty. Between that and asylum seekers and hostility against Muslims and denial of climate issues and being hostile to the homeless sections of communities and asking a community to cast judgment on gays. I mean, all these ways of thinking about the world are not to be celebrated.
No.
And they are not progress, no matter how we pitch and term them. And we call them freedom of expression. This is not freedom of expression.
I think what I found with the guest that we have for this particular episode,
Monica
Weightman, who is a living legend. And
Yes.
a gun guitarist
Yes.
and a woman gun guitarist, which I think is incredible.
Look at the smile on my face as a result. Yeah, Monica Weightman.
And also
yeah.
an incredible speaker for social justice.
Sure.
The thing that I found, I feel like you guys have a couple of things in common, and one of those is to talk about this stuff with joy and to introduce the concept of working together and listening to each other and just not being a dick generally.
Yes.
This sense of talking about it with joy.
Yeah. And look, absolutely. And I mean, that's why I think, to me, the importance of people are using a term now, they're calling it intersectionality. Intersectionality is a thing, it has a pulse, it's a person. And this is our way of being intersectional, by recognising the struggles of different people and bringing them together, and that they may share similar features, but not everything needs to be get up on your political soapbox. You can apply and offer up an expression of all those principles through what we do, and also through a sense of humour and a sense of affording respect to everybody, particularly those you may disagree with, all the while not wavering of the very message. I try and stand for what I believe to be right, not what is popular. And sometimes it's popular, and thankfully at the moment we're living during a time where, there's a whole community where this stuff resonates.
I'd like to acknowledge the Wurundjeri people and the Boonwurrung people.
Yes.
From the Kulin Nation.
Yep, absolutely.
I tell you, I found a home here, and the elders of here, of Boonwurrung and Wurundjeri, they have seen me working within the community for a long time, and they know that I really, I used to teach a lot of different kids. I've taught in prisons and juvenile justice and that. And I just said, no, I just want to teach our kids. I want to be a vision for them to go, hey, I can do that. Hey, look, it's not just the boys who do that.
And they welcomed you into working with Series, I guess.
Series is a different one again. But yes, I taught Bush Tucker, who I learned from... another great Wurundjeri elder, and at the moment I'm actually teaching storytelling and art in kindergartens as a by job, which I love because it gives me an opportunity to be a child, to be an Aboriginal child as an adult, because when my father grew up, you were anything but Aboriginal. You were from New Zealand. You were Tongan, because Aboriginal was seen to be the bottom of the rung.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so it's called lateral violence,
Yeah, yeah.
So you pick out in your own community who's on the bottom of the rung, and then you pick on them. It's sort of a bit human nature, really, isn't it?
So the Boonwurrung and the Wurundjeri crew gave you a chance to take a bit more pride
Well,
or
I
ownership?
knocked on the door at a place called Songlines, and it's an Aboriginal TI song association.
They have an office here.
They have an office in Melbourne.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and at the time, Grant Hansen opened up that door and welcomed me in. The man sits on a hill and looks out over the sea. Sea sails in a sunset, says, who will let it come to a sacred land? And 200 years go by, so many tales of genocide. Mothers, fathers, children die. How the warriors cry for our sacred land. And I heard a man sing, who will sing my songs? Who will sing my songs? Who will walk my dreaming path when I am gone?
Man walks down the street, he's got a suit upon his back. Knows not of his heritage, knows not if he's white or black. On this sacred land,
She sits in a bus stop, her children have been taken away. There are tears in her eyes, if you could read them they would say, my children are gone. And she sings, who will sing my song? Who will sing my song? And who will walk my dreaming path? My children, they are gone. Sad stories, oh yeah. A child is born, a child grows, becomes a man before he knows secrets of responsibilities and such like things. And in another part of town, all the people gather around, singing and playing those old sweet sounds. And one little girl, she steps forward.
I will sing your song. I will sing your song. I will walk your dreaming path when you are gone. All the children sing, we will sing your song.
dreaming path. When you're gone, we will love the children sing. We will sing your songs. We will sing your songs. We will sing your song. We will walk your dreaming path when you are gone.
Yeah.
You're amazing, Mandy Connell. Well, thank you so much.
well.
What a joy.
I guess I will see you at the next event.
Oh, you betcha. Can't wait to sing with
Awesome.
you again.
Yeah, it's going to
You're
be great.
beautiful.
Well,
Thanks, darling.
See you soon.
See you soon.
From the bustle of the airport traffic, I can read it in the paper now. They've taken all our half-caste children from the towns where they're not